Looking for an apartment to rent in America can feel like a big adventure, especially if it's your first time. But don't worry, by understanding the process step by step, you can make smart decisions and find a place that fits your needs and your budget. Let's start at the very beginning. When you decide to rent an apartment in the United States, the first thing to consider is where you want to live. Cities are often divided into neighborhoods, each with its own personality, price range, and amenities. Some neighborhoods are lively and close to restaurants, schools, or universities, while others are quieter and more residential. Take a little time to research different areas. Think about what's important to you and make a list of your priorities. Do you want to be close to public transportation? Do you need a supermarket or a gym nearby? These questions will help you narrow down your search. Once you have an idea of where you'd like to live, it's time to think about your budget. Rent prices in America can vary a lot depending on the city and the neighborhood. For example, renting in New York City or San Francisco is usually much more expensive than in smaller towns. When you set your budget, remember that rent is not the only expense you'll have. Besides the monthly rent, you will also need to plan for utilities like electricity, water, gas, and internet. Sometimes these utilities are included in the rent, but often they are paid separately. Always ask the landlord or the agency what is included in the rent and what is not. Before you start visiting apartments, it's helpful to know where to look. There are many ways to find apartments in America. You can search online on websites like Zillow, Apartments.com, or Craigslist. These sites let you filter apartments by price, size, location, and number of bedrooms or bathrooms. Another way is to contact a real estate agency. Agencies can help you find apartments that match your criteria, and they can guide you through the rental process. Some agencies may charge a fee for their service, while others are paid by the landlord. Always ask if there are any fees before you commit. When you find an apartment you like, it's important to visit in person if possible. During your visit, check the condition of the apartment. Look at the walls, floors, kitchen, and bathroom. Test the lights, faucets, and appliances. Notice how much natural light the apartment gets and whether it feels safe and comfortable. If you cannot visit in person, ask for a video tour or many photos. Now let's talk about the types of rentals you might encounter. In America, you can usually choose between long-term and short-term rentals. A long-term rental is typically for 1 year. You sign a lease, which is a contract between you and the landlord that explains the rules of the rental, the amount of rent, and the length of your stay. Some leases are for 6 months, and sometimes you can find month-to-month rentals where you only need to give short notice. Choose if you want to leave. Short-term rentals are for people who only need to stay for a few weeks or months. These are common for students or people on temporary assignments. Websites like Airbnb and Vrbo offer furnished apartments for short stays. However, short-term rentals are usually more expensive per month than long-term rentals. Also, some buildings or neighborhoods do not allow short-term rentals, so always check the rules. When you decide to rent an apartment, you'll need to prepare some documents. Landlords and agencies usually ask for proof of income, like pay stubs or a letter from your employer. If you are a student, you might need to show proof of enrollment or a letter from your school. You'll also need a form of identification, such as a passport or driver's license, and some landlords ask for your credit score, which is a number that shows how reliable you are with paying debts. If you don't have a credit score, or if you are new to the country, you might need a guarantor, someone who promises to pay the rent if you can't. Once you agree to rent the apartment, you'll be asked to sign the lease. Read the lease carefully before signing. Make sure you understand the rules about pets, noise, guests, and repairs. Ask what happens if something breaks in the apartment. Usually, the landlord is responsible for major repairs, but small maintenance tasks might be your responsibility. When you sign the lease, you'll also need to pay a security deposit. This is usually equal to 1 month's rent, but it can be more. The deposit is held by the landlord and returned to you at the end of your stay if you leave the apartment in good condition. Sometimes you also pay the first month's rent in advance. Let's talk about the monthly expenses you'll need to plan for. The main expense is the rent itself. Then, you may have to pay for utilities. Electricity and gas are billed every month based on your usage. Water and heat might be included in the rent or billed separately. Internet is usually not included, so you'll need to set up an account with a local provider. If the apartment building has amenities like a gym, pool, or laundry facilities, there could be extra fees. And don't forget about renter's insurance. While not always required, renter's insurance protects your belongings in case of theft, fire, or water damage. It's usually affordable and recommended. If you rent through an agency, ask about their fees. Some agencies charge a fee equal to 1 month's rent, while others are free for tenants. Be sure to clarify all costs before signing any agreements. Lastly, remember that communication is key. If you have questions or problems during your stay, contact your landlord or agency. Keep records of payments and any repairs. If you plan to leave the apartment before the end of your lease, check the rules. Breaking a lease early can mean extra costs. Renting an apartment in America may seem complicated at first, but by following these steps, you'll be ready to find the right place for you. Remember to research, ask questions, and always read the contract carefully. With a bit of planning, you'll soon be settled into your new home and ready to start your adventure. Good luck!